Hey, this is lesson 81 and we're now looking at the role of culture within an organisation, and there was a business writer called Charles Handy who came up with 4 different cultures. One of these is the power culture, and he likened it to a spider's web because all of the power will come from the spider. Now, this sort of organisation is very much dependent upon the abilities of the individual who is running the organisation. And if that individual runs that organisation very, very well, and that organisation achieves a lot and achieves great success, then it can be the case that the individuals within that organisation are actually pretty content because they're hitting performance targets and they're actually doing very well. But it's heavily dependent upon the skills of that leader. The performance of that organisation will be judged upon results, and the best example of this that anyone can think of is really with the Royal Bank of Scotland. Now, Sir Fred Goodwin at that time wanted to make this bank the largest in the whole world, so they went on this massive growth strategy. The biggest strategy the biggest mistake that they did during that time was when they brought the Dutch bank AMRO, and the whole deal cost them, I think it cost them 15 or 10 billion pounds to buy AMRO, and then they lost 15 billion. The end result was overall that deal cost them 25 billion pounds. So clearly, in that case, their massive growth strategy didn't work. Also, Sir Fred Goodwin, running a huge bank, did not have the skills to look after the whole of the bank. So the team around him wasn't given enough authority to work on their own behalf. The best example of a power culture that worked would be Steve Jobs when he came back to Apple in 1997. Initially he said, right, this is what we're going to do. I have a vision, just follow me, and then we're going to be okay. Later on, of course, he did put a lot of time and effort into finding his successor, who was called Tim Cook, and the companies continued to do very, very well. So as he went on through time, then he adopted a more democratic approach to his leadership style. A power culture, there's nothing wrong with a power culture, and a power culture is probably useful in a time of a crisis. So people often think a power culture is automatically bad. No, it needn't be. At certain times you may need to have a forceful personality within your organisation. A role culture. Now, this is dependent upon, let's draw another pillar in here. That each department is very, very strong and is based upon rules and procedures. People are specialised in what they do. They tend to be experts in what they do. There's not a lot of communication going around. It tends to be fairly bureaucratic, and it doesn't really suit those individuals who want to be innovative. Now, it may well be the case that certain organisations have a mixture of culture. So you could argue maybe that Virgin, all right, and you have to make those assumptions within the essay. I would certainly say that Virgin is very much a task or a person orientated culture. However, there will be certain aspects within Virgin, for instance the accountancy department, that has a role culture where they follow very clearly defined ways in which they work. And also the brand image put out by Richard Branson, you could argue maybe that's a little bit of power culture in there. Okay, he delegates and he produces a very much an organic organisation, but is very much under his branding. So in terms of his branding, you could argue that may be a bit of a power culture. However, within the actual organisation, it's very much a task culture, very much a person culture, very much an organic culture, something that we've just looked at previously. Anyway, so a role culture is very much rule-based and procedure-based. So we've done 2 cultures here. We've done the power culture, and we've also done the role culture. And we're still on Charles Handy's cultures. Here we have a task culture, which is basically all based around teams. And if what you do is you get an individual team which has an accountant in, a marketing person in, an engineer in, a designer in, a branding individual, say. They all join together and they're given a set project to do. Now, because they're all working together, they can all work with each other, they can all feed off each other, then hopefully the project will move forward quite quickly because they don't have to go and see someone else. It's almost the opposite to what a role culture is. So it brings the team together. You've got to have the right resources in there. It should improve efficiency. It helps the individual identify with the objectives of the organisation. It should be pretty rapid in terms of what it does. Contains all the different skills, mutual respect. If you're really good at your job, then that's where your status comes from. It's a bit like a matrix type organisation. That's how they draw it, where they get people in from different departments. However, there is a complication. It is because you've got all these different teams working together. They're all competing for resources, and the senior managers may not always know what's going on within each individual team. But that's really a management issue. If the manager's really good at their job, then they should be able to get away with it. But there can be a source of conflict there. It's sort of a task team is in tune with the times right now because they will adapt to change and they're looking at bringing out new products. Okay. And then finally we move on to the person culture. So we've had the role culture, we've had the power culture, we've had the task culture I've just done, and also the person culture. Now in this one, this is where you have an organisation based around the individual, and the individual will try and come up with ideas. And often you'll find these are really good specialists like computer programmers, consultants, the teaching profession maybe. Now these people are very happy in their own environment, creating their own resources. And they just tend to work on their own, and then they're not necessarily part of the structure of the organisation, but they work within an organisation. Okay, so what is the conclusion of all of this, of Charles Handy's 4 types of culture? I think it's just useful to see that different people will want to belong to different cultures. However, you can easily get all 4 types in one organisation. So a school, for instance, it will have a role culture, those people who look after the accounts. They'll have a task culture, which may be within certain departments, may all work as teams in terms of creating new things. There will always be within the teaching profession individuals who just want to get on and do the job in their own way. That's maybe why they join the profession, particularly at universities, where you may find people are focused on one thing, and that's what they really want to go out and do. Okay, and each one of these is suited to different circumstances and to different organisations. So as an individual, you want to find what sort of culture fits for you, and to join that type of organisation. And for the organisation, they have to decide what they want to have within their organisation. Although what I will suggest is you are likely to have all of these within one organisation. And of course, people can adapt. You know, even somebody who's in a person culture, you can eventually teach that person maybe to be part of the team. So eventually they may move over to a task culture. Okay, Charles Handy's 4 cultures.